Good evening and welcome to another episode of my podcast. Tonight's topic will be Rants from the Road. As I just returned from my 4-day trip to Austin, Texas, taking a load of fire retardant down there, I saw things along the way there that made me think about green energy. As you're going through Colorado, you pass a huge wind farm. And I thought about that. How many people think they're really getting green energy from a wind farm? When you know the reality of windmills, that the fossil fuel required to recreate a windmill, produce it, you never get a positive gain on the windmill. But it makes everyone feel better about themselves. And then you come down, people wanting electric cars. People all think, we've got to get away from fossil fuel. We need to get away from fossil fuels, but we're going to run batteries. What's the reality of those batteries? We're mining to get the lithium to make the batteries. They're toxic to dispose of. And anybody who knows, anybody who has rechargeable power tools knows batteries have a lifetime. What do you do with them? Not only to mention that part of the negative side of electric cars, battery powered, is you have to charge batteries. Now, unless you live in an area that has hydroelectric power, how are those batteries being charged? Somehow they're being charged with fossil fuel. But everybody thinks we can get away from fossil fuel. Biden gets elected, what's he do? Boy, he wants to shut down oil production. And look where we are today. I saw diesel prices anywhere from $4.67 a gallon to $5.25. We will never get away from fossil fuel. And people need to stop fooling themselves thinking that because they might be using wind energy or they might be using battery, they might have an electric car, that they're being green. And everybody who's running diesel, they're evil. I'll guarantee you need to look at what's really going on. The only form of alternative energy that is efficient is solar power. And I'm a proponent of solar power. I think that's great. And if it pays off, that's great. It gives us an alternative. But everyone who thinks, who has the misguided notion that we're going to get away from fossil fuel, I think you're fooling yourself. Look at what goes on in this country. And here's the thing. The U.S. is probably the cleanest energy producer of any country in the world. We're trying hard. And I applaud those efforts. But until there's some type of worldwide rules or regulations, these other countries are going to continue polluting. So what do we do in this country? We decide we don't need to pump oil. So what do? We buy oil from our enemies, supply other countries, cause problems for our own oil countries at home, take away jobs at home. Everyone needs to wake up. It's time to wake up and realize that we will need fossil fuels. And if we're going to need fossil fuel, we need to do it in our own country and provide jobs to our own people. People need to be willing to get back to work. Don't sit around looking at a problem, wondering what to do about it, but not be willing to get back to work. The oil industry right now is short workers. And I know this rant probably will offend some people. And I always said I wasn't going to get political. And I don't think I'm getting political here. I'm just saying we need to apply common sense. Common sense needs to be drive what we're doing here. And before you start banging on, wind energy and all and battery-powered cars, know the real costs. Know what's really going on. Really understand it. As somebody whose industry is driven by fossil fuels, and that industry is not going away, I wonder how many people even understand 30% of jobs in the United States are tied to the transportation industry. It's how you get goods. Look around your home and see what was delivered by a truck. Everything you eat was produced by a farmer. Yet there's people out there like us feel guilty because we're doing our job. We're supplying this country. Farmers are out there, they're growing crops. That requires fossil fuels. If you were to make an electric-powered tractor, when I say tractor, I mean either a farm tractor or a tractor pulling a trailer down the road, it would be so heavy, it would have no payload. But yet they still think they can develop one. It's time to wake up and accept that we can always continue to work on doing better and look for alternatives, but realize that this country runs on fossil fuels. And I know I just said I don't want to get political, and I just kind of went after Biden. And I will say this, it doesn't matter if you're a Republican, you're a Democrat, you're independent, whatever, look to common sense. Look to common sense and what keeps this country running.
Not many people have it. Not many people have common sense.
Well, that is seriously a shortage thereof, I understand that. But look to common sense. What it requires to live in this country, what is required. Because right now, this fuel thing, the way it is, people think, well, that's got to be hurting the trucking industry. Well, you know what? It's really not. But it hurts every consumer in this country. Because trucking companies pass that cost right along to the consumer. You're noticing your goods are going up, you're paying more money for things, it comes right back to fuel. And until that situation's not going to change. In fact, now we're in this for a while now, because even if they were to start drilling today or start opening up, they've shut down parts of the oil field in North Dakota, they've shut down oil wells in Wyoming. Colorado's trying to put more restrictions on it. It would take, even if they fired up everything that's been mothballed, you're looking at 6 months before we see a change. So when you're going to the gas pump and you're seeing what you're paying, think about what you've done in this country. Think about who you voted for. Think about who it really hurts. And think about what can make it better. And I'll leave you with that tonight. I hope, if I've offended some people, I guess that's the way it is.
Do you really care?
Well, it's not a matter of caring. It's just a matter of stating the facts. It's stating what I see traveling up and down the highways. And it is what it is. So if you're offended by what I say, maybe you need to look at the real reality out there. What's going on? Common sense. There's no replacement for common sense. Now, if you like this video, you can subscribe, like the video. If you don't like the video, whatever. It is what it is. It's time for a reality check. And have a nice evening.